the sensitivity of this ceasefire? I mean, from here, where you're looking at these developments, how sensitive is this? Could this break apart? Do we have the wherewithal to make sure that there is no violation of this pact?
Thank you so much for asking these questions. Indeed, this ceasefire is extremely fragile. Um, I would say that Israel has been under a lot of pressure from the United States and from the Arab world and from Europe to conclude some sort of a deal. But let's remember that Hezbollah broke the ceasefire when it entered the hostilities in October 2023. There is nothing preventing Hezbollah from violating it again. The terms of the ceasefire allege that the Lebanese state will ensure that there is no group armed in southern Lebanon, with the exception of the Lebanese armed forces, but it has made similar commitments in the past. It has no real way of enforcing them, considering that Hezbollah has been part of the political system and not just the paramilitary operating inside Lebanon. And if this is the commitment they're willing to make now, the question is, what has prevented it from being the case a month ago, 2 months ago? On the Israel side, they are very wary of the fact that that Hezbollah is a terrorist organization. Its loyalty is not to the Lebanese state, but to Iran. And at the end of the day, it is Iran which will direct Hezbollah whether to attack or not to attack.
All right, many thanks for your opening comments. Adit, I'm going to come to you next because, one needs to understand that there is this tripartite mechanism. UNIFIL is going to be there, United States and France. They're essentially the monitoring committee. Now, is this essentially enough, and how effective will this be? How equipped do you think this monitoring panel is, given the fact that what we've seen over the last 13 to 14 months?
Just in terms of United Nations and the sort of monitoring committees, I think they themselves are going to be fairly toothless. But I think what sort of reinforces this deal is, clearly US's intervention and, the combination with France. Because Hezbollah is known from both a US and a France perspective to be quite nefarious in their sort of design elements and the way they basically conduct themselves. We remember the bombings outside the US embassy and the French embassy in Beirut. So from that perspective, I think the US and the French are going to be quite critical. But I think what sort of attracts me most about this particular deal is the phased Israeli retraction from the southern Lebanese border, or the phased retraction towards the northern Israel of the Israeli or the IDF forces. I think that for me is very critical because it gives them a 60 days leeway to basically monitor the entire situation and assess whether there are any critical threats which are still looming high above their heads, which they need to mitigate, or do they need to take any sort of other steps to basically neutralize them. I think Netanyahu in general has played himself very strategically because they've been able to rupture Hezbollah completely, sort of left them in this sort of a vegetative and a paralyzed state where their top leadership is completely dismantled and dislodged, and now the time is basically for them to consolidate their forces and focus more towards dismantling Hamas and completely eliminating their existence. So that part of the argument, I am, it's very interesting to see. There are though a lot of voices coming in from within Israel who are basically saying that they predominantly don't believe that this should have been the stance of the government. They see the Israeli government basically yielding to the pressures of the global community and of the Lebanese government. But I think we have to look at the strategic aspect where you can't have both fronts open. You need to consolidate and you need to focus on who your real enemy at this point is once you've completely left Hezbollah in a vegetative state. Kabir.
All right. All right, Adit. You know what? I mean, echoing from where you've left us, we've got Major General Sudhakar Ji, defense and strategic expert, with us on the panel here. And General, take a look at some of the key details of this pact as well. Ceasefire set for an initial 60-day period, like Adit was mentioning, seems to be that buffer period to iron out any sort of niggles that do exist. Hezbollah is going to withdraw 40 kilometers from the Israeli border. You've got Israeli troops that are going to exit the Lebanese territory, but Lebanese army is going to replace Hezbollah forces in the south. You've got 5,000 Lebanese soldiers that are going to be replacing the IDF at the borders. Now, can the Lebanese army, General, effectively manage the security situation given the fact that we've seen this is so volatile? Any violation is going to lead to another barrage of missiles from either side.
Kabir, good evening. Thank you for getting me to your show. Must compliment very distinguished and esteemed panelists, and I quite endorse their point of view. And the question which you have raised is very, very relevant. Not only today, it was relevant in 82, 2000, 2006 as well, in the past. A similar kind of situation had taken place. The moot question which the world order should have asked as to why Hezbollah has been allowed to come to the border, which is supposed to be manned by the Lebanese army. Hezbollah is not a regular, it is not a conventional force, it's a non-state actor. So it's a great welcome development taking place. Now, coming to the centrality of your question, whether they will be effective or not, that is where I tend to agree with Irina. It's a very fragile kind of a ceasefire. A lot of hostilities have actually been witnessed in past several years. What is going to happen? The trigger will actually dictate a lot of terms. Trigger is not only Israel. There is something behind Israel which is actually driving Israel to go ahead. The moral support, the physical support, the weapons, arms, ammunition. And I think the world order today is yearning, it is dying for peace, not only in Middle East, everywhere. So therefore, having gone through, we need to look at the whole perspective from the landscape of the political developments which have taken place. We all know that Donald Trump has come back with a landslide victory, and he has given a lot of assurances and commitment to the global order and to stop these mindless two wars, Ukraine and the Middle East. So perhaps to my understanding and being a student and scholar of geopolitics and strategy and security, what comes to my mind is that it is well begun, half done, but lot of distance, 1,000 miles to go before we start. Every little step actually is fraught with many challenges. Nitty-gritties will come out. Hezbollah may not agree to certain points, which, you see, Litani River also earlier was a line which was dividing both the forces. So Hezbollah, the rules of engagement for the Hezbollah is very important. It is as important as that of IDF. If IDF actually triggers one small incident, incidentally, Kabir, I think in your channel I had alluded that in the year 2018, Israel had taken a decision to have a boundary wall over a distance of 131 kilometers. This is the boundary between Israel and Lebanon. I don't know. Last I visited was a long time back when I was dealing with the subject in service. I don't know whether the boundary has been made or not. But that boundary also is not going to give an answer unless there is a kind of a assuring commitment by both the stakeholders. That is one. And most important force which is driving in the Middle East is Iran. Like I have also alluded to the fact there is a doctrine which Israel follows. It is called an octopus doctrine. By virtue of lack of proximity, Iran being where it is today, 1,800 kilometers away, the head of the octopus is Iran, and it actually is controlling or engaging or keeping Israel under check by the tentacles. All the tentacles are the H. You have the Houthis, you have the Hamas, you have the Hezbollah, and you have the last one is the Hasab Sahel, the breakaway faction after Iraq was invaded in 2003. Shiite.
No, you're right.
So last but not the least, to answer to your question is, I personally feel whether they will be able to do it or not, some beginning has been made. The global order is also equally responsible. The apex organization in the United Nations also must come to the forefront. The Secretary General who has been debarred to visit Israel, this is not on. Israel is supposed to be having a formidable defense force. They must know how to respect.